Alright. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another story hour. Today, got a certainly underappreciated work, and one that tends to not be incredibly well known, but is absolutely worth your time if you're interested in somebody who led a fascinating life of adventure that covered almost anything that you can possibly imagine getting out of life. Patrick Leigh Fermor is one of the preeminent travel writers of the 20th century. Over the course of his life, the adventures that he had are really quite incredible. Everything from walking the entire distance from the Hook of Holland to Constantinople, to serving with as a British special operative in the invasion of Crete in the Second World War. Fermor is one of those men whose lives would be unbelievable if you put it realistically into a film. And this book, A Time to Keep Silence, is a little bit of a departure from the normal for people who are even familiar with Fermor, because this recounts his specific experiences in a number of monasteries and with monastic life, starting in the 1950s, where he spends time in the Abbey of St. Wandrille de Fontanelle. He spends time in Le Grand Trappe, and he visits the rock monasteries of Cappadocia. They weren't part of one particular tour, or even, let's say, one effort of his to look at them. They're really a collection of stories and recollections of his time encountering the monks and encountering this really incredibly different way of life that is so foundational to the civilizational history of Europe. It's not a very thick book. It's quite small, and it's not a very long read, but it is absolutely worth your time. I'm just going to read a very small section, part of the Abbey of St. Wandrille de Fontanelle, which encapsulates some, let's say, lesser thought of aspects of monastic life. So, well, we'll dive right in. Time passes in a monastery with disconcerting speed. Except for the great feasts of the church, there are no landmarks to divide it up except the cycle of the seasons. And I found that days and soon weeks were passing almost unperceived. The speed of this temporal lapse is a phenomenon that every monk notices. 6 months, a year, 15 years, a lifetime are soon over, and, as I found it easier to talk to them, the only regret I heard was that they had delayed so long in the world before coming to the abbey. They came from very different backgrounds, many of them very young after finishing their lycée or university course, or after growing up on farms, others after years in business as teachers or as soldiers or sailors, officers in the Navy or the merchant service. They were recruited from widely different income groups. Some had been married and widowed. The possibility of withdrawal during the long years of novitiate is constantly kept before their eyes, with the result that all who take their final vows are deeply convinced of their vocation. Finally, they become either choir monks or lay brothers, the latter position being originally calculated to give postulants, whose education or temperament unfits them for the studies that the priesthood demands, the opportunity of sharing the monastic life. Lay brothers do not receive the tonsure, but wear their hair cropped close to the head, as do the novices, and are concerned mainly with the farm life of their foundation, the fields and the cattle. As all the monasteries of France are unendowed, they have to keep going by their own efforts. Every monastery has a subsidiary and purely lay function, which involves very hard work besides its other duties, and one in which all must participate. St. Wandrille manages to keep afloat by the manufacture and sale of boot polish and encastiques for cleaning machinery, and by running a printing press. I asked one of the monks how he could sum up in a couple of words his way of life. He paused a moment and said, "Have you ever been in love?" I said, "Yes." A large Fernandel smile spread across his face. "Ah bien," he said, "c'est exactement pareil." Well, that is, like I said, very, very short section from A Time to Keep Silence. This is New Yorker Review of Books edition. You can find it in a few different editions. And as always, if you're looking for a local bookstore to support, check out bookmarksbooks.com or Bookmarks Books in Steubenville, Ohio. They've got a great selection, and it's worth every penny to support a really great local bookstore. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you in the next one.